Baghdad, 922, the greatest city between Constantinople and Chang'an, 2 million souls packed between the Tigris curves, markets thick with Persian silk and Indian spices, the House of Wisdom, translating Aristotle, while muezzins call from 400 minarets. But in the caliph's palace, they're preparing instruments that haven't seen daylight for decades. A mystic named Hussein ibn Mansur Al-Hallaj sits in chains, and his words have shaken an empire. Ana al-Haq, I am the truth. 3 syllables that turned scholars into enemies and judges into executioners. What did he really say? Why did it terrify the most powerful men in Islam? And when they finally decided to kill him, why did it take them 11 hours? If you value documented and factual history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Al-Tabari and contemporary Baghdad manuscripts. Now, back to the story. Al-Hallaj wasn't born a heretic. Tustar, 858, Eastern Persia, where Zoroastrian fire temples still smoked beside new mosques. His grandfather spun cotton. Hallaj means cotton carder in Arabic. The boy who'd die for claiming godhood started life touching raw fiber with calloused fingers. But Tustar sat on trade routes carrying more than silk. Sufi teachers moved between Basra and Balkh, carrying meditation techniques that bent minds toward direct divine contact. At 16, Hussein left his father's cotton business for a master named Sahl al-Tustari. First lesson, God lives closer than your jugular vein. Second lesson, conventional prayer is just the beginning. By 880, he'd learned what the books couldn't teach, fasting until vision blurred, dhikr chanting that dissolved the boundary between speaker and spoken. All-night meditation that left him talking to presences others couldn't see. His fellow students watched him claim God spoke through his mouth during ecstatic states, not metaphorically, literally. The divine voice, using human vocal cords like a musician, borrows a flute. When pressed for proof, he'd quote verses no one had heard, poetry that flowed like Quran but came from somewhere else. The beloved and the lover are one, he'd whisper. The seeker and the sought have no distance. 901, Baghdad's East Bank. Al-Hallaj opens a house for disciples and starts teaching what he learned in 20 years of mystical practice. 36 students, mostly merchants, sons hungry for meaning beyond profit margins, but his classes sound nothing like orthodox instruction. Instead of law and hadith, he talks about divine union. Instead of submission to Allah's will, he describes moments when human consciousness dissolves completely and only God remains. When someone reaches the truth, he tells them, they become the truth. The drop returns to the ocean and becomes ocean. Theological professors from the nearby schools start showing up uninvited. They hear students call their teacher the truth and watch him accept the title with disturbing calm. The first accusation reaches Caliph al-Muqtafi in 906. A formal complaint from Baghdad's chief Qadi. Al-Hallaj claims equality with God. The evidence? Witnesses heard him say, Ana al-Haq, I am the truth, during a teaching session. In Arabic, Al-Haq is one of Allah's 99 sacred names. Claiming to be truth isn't just arrogance, it's direct theological rebellion. The Caliph orders investigation, but stops short of arrest. Political calculation. Al-Hallaj has powerful friends, including the Caliph's own mother, who finds his mystical teachings personally compelling. Better to watch and wait. But Al-Hallaj won't stay quiet. 908 through 911, he makes 3 pilgrimage journeys to Mecca. Each Hajj draws larger crowds of followers. By the third trip, 400 disciples accompany him from Baghdad. They watch him perform what witnesses call miracles, producing rare foods in desert camps, knowing pilgrims, private thoughts, healing through touch. More disturbing for authorities, he starts claiming these abilities come from his union with divine essence, not from Allah working through him. The difference matters legally. Prophets channel God's power. They don't become God themselves. Al-Hallaj crosses that line repeatedly and publicly. 911, returned from his final Hajj. Al-Hallaj finds Baghdad transformed. New Caliph, Al-Muqtadir, new Vizier, Ali ibn al-Furat, who sees mystics as threats to administrative order. New Chief Judge, Abu Umar al-Basri, who's spent years collecting evidence against unorthodox teachers. The political protection that kept Al-Hallaj safe has evaporated. Within months, formal charges. Claiming divinity, teaching heretical doctrine, corrupting believers, the punishment for apostasy under Abbasid law, death, preceded by public humiliation designed to break the condemned man's spirit and discourage followers. 913, first trial, Baghdad's House of Justice, Chief Judge al-Basri presiding over a panel of 12 legal scholars. The prosecution presents witness testimony collected across 5 years. Abu Bakr al-Shibli, a former disciple turned enemy, provides the most damaging evidence. He quotes Al-Hallaj's exact words from private meetings: "Whoever knows God becomes God. I am the creative truth. My spirit is God's spirit." The defendant doesn't deny the quotes. Instead, he explains them. When the human ego dies completely, Al-Hallaj tells the court, only divine consciousness remains. In that state, who speaks? The body speaks, but God's words flow through it. The judges aren't interested in mystical theory. They want simple answers. Did you claim to be God? Yes or no? Al-Hallaj's response splits legal opinion. He refuses direct denial, but won't admit guilt either. If this body claimed divinity, punish the body, he says. But if truth spoke through this mouth, how can truth be condemned? 9 of 12 judges vote for immediate execution. 3 argue for life imprisonment, citing the defendant's obvious mental instability. Islamic law requires unanimous agreement for death sentences in religious cases. The case stalls. Al-Hallaj returns to house arrest while appeals drag through administrative channels. 8 years pass. Al-Hallaj remains confined but continues teaching. His jailers report strange incidents. The prisoner sometimes speaks in voices they don't recognize, high-pitched, melodic, using Persian and Arabic simultaneously. During Ramadan fasting, guards find him prostrate for 18 consecutive hours, apparently unconscious but continuing to recite Quran. When questioned about these episodes, he claims no memory of them. "The body belongs to you," he tells his captors. But the inhabitant changes. 921. Political shift. Vizier Ibn al-Furat falls from power, accused of financial corruption. His replacement, Hamid ibn al-Abbas, needs a public demonstration of orthodox authority to solidify his position. Al-Hallaj becomes a convenient target. The new vizier orders a second trial, this time under emergency provisions that allow non-unanimous death verdicts if public order is threatened. The legal standard drops from unanimous conviction to a majority vote plus security concerns. Second trial, same charges, new political urgency. This time, prosecutors add evidence collected during Al-Hallaj's confinement. Prison guards testify about his strange episodes. Former disciples provide additional quotes. "I am the one who is. God speaks through this tongue. Worship me, for I am your Lord." The defense, led by Al-Hallaj himself, takes an unexpected turn. Instead of denying the charges, he embraces them. "Yes, I am truth," he tells the court. "Yes, I am the divine speaking through flesh. Kill this body if it offends you, but you cannot kill what speaks through it." The statement seals his fate. March 26th, 922. Unanimous death verdict. But this won't be a simple beheading. The court orders the full punishment for apostasy: flogging, dismemberment, crucifixion, burning, and final dispersal of ashes. The sentence requires the condemned to remain conscious through as many stages as possible, maximizing both suffering and public spectacle. Execution date, March 29th. Location, Baghdad's Central Square, where the largest possible crowd can witness the empire's response to religious rebellion. 3 days to prepare. Al-Hallaj spends them in prayer and final teaching sessions with his remaining disciples. His last recorded words to them: "Death is the bridge between lover and beloved. Tomorrow I cross it gladly." When asked about fear, he responds, "How can illusion fear illusion? Only the body dies. What I truly am cannot be touched by fire or sword." March 29th, 922. Dawn. They bring Al-Hallaj from his cell to Baghdad's execution ground. The central square holds 10,000 spectators, curious citizens, theological students, government officials, foreign merchants. A wooden platform rises 12 feet above ground level, ensuring clear sight lines for the maximum number of witnesses. The executioner's tools wait on a nearby table: leather whips, iron pincers, hammers, saws, bronze braziers, already glowing with prepared coals. The proceedings begin with ritual humiliation. Al-Hallaj, stripped to a loincloth, is forced to recant his teachings publicly. When he refuses, the flogging starts. Islamic law specifies 80 lashes for religious crimes, delivered with a leather whip thick as a man's thumb. The executioner, a professional named Ahmad ibn Tulun, spaces the blows to avoid unconsciousness. Each strike draws blood. After 20 lashes, witnesses report that Al-Hallaj begins laughing. After 40, he starts reciting poetry no one recognizes. "Strike harder, beloved. Each blow brings me closer to you." The crowd falls silent. This isn't how condemned men usually behave. 80 lashes completed. Al-Hallaj remains conscious but barely standing. Blood covers his back and legs. Now comes dismemberment. The sentence specifies removal of hands and feet while the condemned watches. Ibn Tulun uses a sharp cleaver for speed, cauterizing each wound with heated iron to prevent fatal bleeding. Right hand first. The crowd hears the bone crack. Al-Hallaj's response. This hand wrote letters claiming divinity. Let it pay the price. Left hand. Same reaction. Calm acceptance. No screaming. Right foot, left foot. By now, spectators are leaving. The condemned man's strange serenity unsettles them more than screaming would. Crucifixion follows. The prepared cross measures 8 feet high, 4 feet wide, constructed from cedar wood that won't break under body weight. They nail Al-Hallaj's stumps to the crossbeam, then raise the structure upright. Islamic law requires the crucified to remain alive for public viewing until sunset. It's now mid-morning. Al-Hallaj hangs there for 7 hours, occasionally speaking to the crowd below. His words, recorded by court scribes, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." Then, "Strange. I am thirsty." A soldier offers him vinegar on a sponge. He refuses. "Not for water do I thirst, but for union." Sunset. Still alive. They lower the cross and prepare the final stage, burning. But first, one last chance for recantation. The chief judge approaches the dying man and offers life in exchange for public denial of his divine claims. Al-Hallaj's response. How can truth deny itself? They pile brushwood around the base of the cross. Before lighting it, Ahmad ibn Tulun asks if the condemned has final words. Al-Hallaj raises his mutilated face toward the darkening sky and speaks clearly enough for the entire square to hear. All that matters for the ecstatic is that the unique should reduce him to unity. Fire ignites. The flames reach him slowly, designed to extend suffering rather than provide quick death. But something unexpected happens. Instead of screaming, Al-Hallaj begins to sing a mystical poem in Arabic about divine love conquering physical pain. His voice, clear despite smoke inhalation, carries across the square. Love has taken me and filled both my heart and my veins. Nothing remains of me but a name. The song continues until flames consume his vocal cords, then silence. Full consumption takes 3 hours. By midnight, only charred bones remain. Islamic law requires complete destruction of apostates, remains, leaving nothing for veneration or burial. The executioner's assistants gather the bones and grind them to powder using stone mortars. The powder gets mixed with animal dung and thrown into the Tigris River at dawn. No grave, no relic, no physical trace that Hussein ibn Mansur Al-Hallaj ever existed. But they couldn't erase the words. Within days, copies of his mystical poetry circulate through Baghdad's underground networks. His teachings spread faster after death than during life. Disciples carry them to Andalusia, Central Asia, India. The man they killed for claiming divine union becomes Islam's most influential mystical poet. Ana al-Haq, the phrase that condemned him, becomes the central doctrine of Sufi mysticism. The empire that destroyed his body couldn't touch what he truly was. If you value documented history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Al-Tabari and contemporary Baghdad manuscripts. Now back to the story, 955. 33 years after the execution, a manuscript surfaces in Cairo's House of Wisdom, The Passion of Al-Hallaj, written by a witness named Abu Nasr al-Sarraj. The document contains detailed descriptions of the execution that official records omit. According to al-Sarraj, Al-Hallaj's behavior during torture wasn't madness or theatrical display. The condemned man genuinely seemed to experience physical pain as spiritual ecstasy. His face shone like polished silver, the witness writes. Each blow that should have brought agony brought him visible joy, as if divine presence intensified with suffering. More disturbing, al-Sarraj claims Al-Hallaj performed one final miracle during his crucifixion. As flames consumed his body, witnesses saw him write something in his own blood on the cross's wooden surface. The message, barely legible, al-Haq, truth. The word that condemned him became his final testimony, written in the fluid of life itself. When executioners examined the cross after burning, they found the wood beneath the bloodstain had turned white, as if bleached by intense heat that touched nothing else nearby. The story spread through mystical circles despite official suppression. Sufi teachers began claiming that Al-Hallaj's death was an execution but voluntary sacrifice. a conscious choice to demonstrate that divine love transcends physical destruction. His final poetry, collected from disciples, Memory, fills 3 volumes of mystical verse that influences Islamic spirituality for centuries. The man Baghdad killed to silence became the voice that launched 1,000 mystical schools. But political consequences echoed longer than spiritual ones. The Al-Hallaj case established precedent for executing religious dissidents throughout the Islamic world. Over the next 2 centuries, dozens of mystics die for similar claims of divine union. The empire's response to his Ana al-Haq shapes Orthodox Islam's boundaries permanently. Mystical experience gets channeled into approved forms: poetry instead of theology, metaphor instead of literal claims, private ecstasy instead of public teaching. 1035, Damascus archaeological site. Construction workers excavating near the old city walls uncover a mass grave containing 43 skeletons. Carbon dating places them in the early 10th century. Each skeleton shows signs of violent death: severed hands and feet, broken ribs, skull fractures. Historians recognize the pattern from execution records. These are the bones of Al-Hallaj's disciples, killed in the purge that followed their master's death. The empire didn't just execute one mystic, it eliminated an entire spiritual movement. Among the skeletal remains, archaeologists find something unexpected: a small bronze medallion bearing Al-Hallaj's final words in Arabic script. All that matters for the ecstatic is that the unique should reduce him to unity. The medallion's craftsmanship suggests it was made before the execution, probably worn by a disciple who died defending his teacher's memory. Hidden in earth for 11 centuries, the metal carries the only physical trace of the man they tried to erase completely. The medallion now sits in Damascus National Museum, catalogued as religious artifact. Abbasid period, provenance unknown. Museum placards don't mention Al-Hallaj by name or explain the inscription's meaning. Even today, his words remain dangerous enough to require careful handling. The empire that killed him is dust. But the fear of what he represented, direct divine experience bypassing religious authority, survives in institutional caution. What they couldn't burn still burns brighter than the fire that consumed him.